Okay, you're live. You're live.
Hi, folks. This is Anahata Graceland with the Talking Dog Show, and I'm so happy to be here today. I'm a little moved today. It's actually a little hard to do the show, but I'm gonna do it. We've had some challenges here with some of the dogs, and it's been kind of sad a little bit. Yeah, but the topic I have today is phenomenal. And I don't think a lot of people are as aware of the intuitive abilities of dogs. Everybody talks about, oh, isn't that great? He was at the door when I got home, or one thing or another that they notice about their dog, or you go in a room and they're right at the door, just from one room to another in your home, because they sense you coming and you think, oh, they probably heard me. According to research and really deep, really very, very excellent research, scientific research and studies, um, dogs have an incredible capacity to detect health issues. Myself, I had Diva, my dog Diva, woke me up in the middle of the night and she was digging on my chest. And like a fool, I got after her for it and took her outside to go to the bathroom real quick, ran back in, got back in bed, and was ready to go back to sleep. And she started it again. Well, I had to get up that morning at 3 a.m. to go down an airplane. So I got on the airplane. I ended up ignoring her impulses and her behavior and got on the airplane. And just as I took off, I have um, had a brain disease when I was a child, which is why sometimes you see I don't have certain words and things. I have little tiny seizures regularly in my brain. No big deal. I'm still intelligent. It's no big deal for me. I hope it's not as hard for you. But essentially, I also have them on the arteries to my heart. So it's a neurological condition, but it does stop my heart. So I have to have nitroglycerin with me everywhere I go. So I was on the airplane, and lo and behold, the same behavior started again. And all of a sudden, angina hit, and I realized that she had been telling me all along that I was in trouble, and the nitroglycerin did not work. We had to turn the airplane around. Everybody missed their connections later. But what is wonderful is that though I took a ridiculously long amount of time to respond to her, the truth is, I finally did. And had I not done that, I could have died. And they got me back to the ER, to the hospital in time. I was given great meds and they were able to control it because it was a little bit more than usual. And my regular meds did not help. So this is a personal experience of mine. I have another one. Eddie, my service dog of 16 and 3/4 years. Eddie was a fellow who was pretty calm, quiet, collected, didn't play a lot, was the king of the kennel, walked through, everybody parted. He's a wonderful, wonderful boy, one of my best friends for many, many years. And we were at the doctor's. There was an older woman, probably maybe 78, 80 years old, sitting in a chair, holding her head like this. And Eddie left me and went over to her. Now, that in itself was extremely rare. Eddie would never just leave my side. And so he went over to her. So I got up and went over to her and I said, "Are you feeling okay?" And she said, "Oh, I have the flu. I had to take the bus here. It was very hard." And I said, "Oh, okay. What time's your appointment?" She said, "Well, I had to get here early because the buses didn't run. So I have another, I don't know, half an hour and 40 minutes, something like that." So Eddie alerted for heart issues. So I went up to the desk and I said to them, I'm concerned because Eddie alerts for my heart. I've known them a long time. I've been going there. And they said, absolutely. And I said, well, he just alerted on this woman, and I think you should take her back. Something's wrong. And he doesn't just alert for flus. That's not something he does. So, sure enough, they took her back. And in moments later, she was being wheeled out on a gurney. She was in the middle of a heart attack. And it doesn't show the same on women as it does for men. And she literally thought she had the flu. And I'm so grateful to Eddie. Maybe she made it because of him. I don't know. But I can tell you that detecting health conditions before uh, medical devices is super common for dogs. They also sense emotional states, and not only do they sense them, but they they actually can take in information about the context that's taking place. So they read people's emotions, and then they also consider the context. And there are some incredible studies that show how they do that, this multiple modal information assessment that they go through. And previously, they thought that only humans and primates could do that. Nope, dogs can do it too. Pretty extraordinary. The other thing that they can do really outrageously well is they demonstrate an amazing cognitive perspective in taking in terms of their abilities. They they're brainy, okay? They figure things out. They can they can learn hundreds of words, literally hundreds of words. And unfortunately, we live around them and don't understand how incredibly capable they are. So what happens is people live with them, they don't stimulate them, they don't teach them anything. They basically look to them for affection, and dogs basically have grown over many, many, many years with us to understand that emotional attendance and supporting us is wonderful. But they're reading all kinds of cues all day long. It's pretty phenomenal. And the last thing is, and don't let this word scare you, okay? Because this is a real thing, and that's telepathy. Dogs exhibit amazing capabilities with telepathy. Um, think about it this way. Recently, Arturo and I went out. Arturo is here on the screen with us briefly, and he'll be back. Arturo works with me. He's my right paw, as we say. And we left. We were gone for a few hours, started our way back. And while we were driving, about 10, 12 minutes from home, his dog broke out of his house and ended up on my property where I drove in. And she knew. How did she know? The only answer is telepathy. And they did a recurrent study where they took 100 tests. They did 100 tests of a dog waiting for its owner, wanting the owner to come home. Every single time before the owner came home, the dog ended up going to the door or making moves toward where the owner would enter. It's pretty extraordinary. Their capacity to do things is so beyond anything what people are aware of. We talk about us using only a percentage of our brains. This happens with dogs. We use only a tiny percentage of their brain, and they're so much more capable than we give them credit for. Up to 90% sensitivity. Let me think of how to say this differently. Dogs can detect things like blood sugar changes 90% of the time with a 90% accuracy. That's phenomenal. It's better than so many different machines and things. They can do the same thing with cancer. 96.7% and 97.5% specifically for lung cancer detection. All they have to do is smell the breath or have people put spit on a little piece of paper and then dogs go through and identify it. It's astounding, isn't it? I think so.
Hey,
The
Rare.
findings continue to astound because this cross-modal integration of their brain, where they're able to take considerations from the context of the room, this is how it works. Let's say well, not let's say, they did a series of tests where a person and another person. So there were two people, the person who was connected to the dog and another person, and they completely were rude, right? They were just rude to the dog's person. They were a bit aggressive in their speech. They were just rude. Time and time again, when they offered a treat, the dog would take it from the owner, they would take it from someone else, but they would not take it from the person who had been rude to their person. That's pretty phenomenal. That takes sizing up a situation, a context, reading everybody, understanding that this person was not happy with their person. Okay. And that not only were they not happy, but that they shouldn't take anything from them. I'd say that's pretty wise. Pretty wise. Well, I want to invite Arturo on because the next section it really talks about social judgment, the capacity to evaluate abilities. And dogs are doing that all day long. They have uh, just in situation after situation. Hi, Turo. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. One
Hey there.
moment.
Hi.
Okay. I don't know what that was, but something was on my screen. I'm not sure. It said, can we go live? And so I clicked yes. So I don't know if any of this was live yet, but let's
Oh
hope it
no, we're
was.
live. We're live.
I can't hear
Um,
you.
really? Huh. Interesting. Can any that's
I got you now.
okay, great.
You now.
I wanted to just add something because I was enjoying you talking about the telepathy and their ability to detect, and it is so profound because like I did that show recently about their ability to detect with their olfactory system, right? Their ability to smell and that they can pick up like 1 part per trillion. So when you couple that with what you're saying, like how my dog, how Whimsy can knows I'm coming home, like that is just remarkable. I just think it's there's so much probably more that I know you experience, but that we're talking about science and you have studies and stuff of the exercises people have done that demonstrate these things. And then of course we have our lived experience, but I'm sure there's so much more that's happening at the same time. And it's just really profound. I'm touched by it because
Well,
yeah,
in these instances, though, Arturo, they weren't able to smell anything. Okay. The
right,
people
right,
were way far away and they did it over and over and over again. They just continued to do it because people poo-poo this stuff so often. So they redid it, and it was 100% of the time the dog
right,
made the move before the person got
right,
anywhere near their home. Isn't
right.
that phenomenal?
It's absolutely amazing. That is that is what's striking me. That if you're in presence with a dog, they're smelling you, number one, and able to really take in your biology basically and what's happening. And at the same time, they're seeing into you and able to experience what's really going on with you, right? Like you said, your personality, your emotions, your state of well-being, all of that, and it's just remarkable. They're the most intimate friends we have, really, if you think about it.
Not only that, I mean, they really outdo medical testing.
Right.
They detect cancer better than any other test for cancer. You know, I have this large lump on my leg, right? From after my surgery, and they kept telling me it was going down. Well, this week it was bothering me a lot. And uh, Paddington, my one of my dogs in my home, not a service dog, but he is a wonderful family member. And he started laying right over the calf of my leg where this large lump is. And every single night, I would take him off, he would go back. I would take him off, he would go back. And finally, I just said, okay, I'll get used to it for a while. And so now I'm going to go see the doc. Even though I saw them once about 4 months ago, I'm going to go back because something is up there. And Paddington is telling me, get it checked out. These things are really valuable to listen to, you know. Um, they change our lives if we start listening. The other thing is, Turo, um, dogs detect events that are happening on the planet, like in your neighborhood, things that are taking place like earthquakes. Over 20% of the dogs that have lived in a earthquake center are reporting, like people are reporting um, uh, that they're running around, they're getting agitated, they're doing things that they never do. And there are changes in atmospheric pressure and electromagnetic fields and release of gases from the Earth's crust. All these things dogs respond to 100% of the time. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, they are now
Percent.
using the information from dogs in order to generate an AI that can tell when earthquakes are coming. Isn't
Yeah.
that wonderful? So our dogs are training AI now.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That's
Pretty
really cool. Really cool.
yeah. So um as I said when I started this, I've written a book called The Way of the Dog. And yesterday I concluded in that book and I finished the audio version of it. And I hope you all enjoy it. It's pretty cool. But the last couple of chapters were all on how you deal with the transition when your dog is ready to go and you're not. And how to plan for it, those kinds of things. And also during that time, one of the things that hit me while I was uh, doing the show, I got a little teary, and I'm sure you could hear it a little bit. I hope not. But I got a little teary and started thinking about Mr. White, who was my service dog for almost 17 years, who passed just several months ago. And he did things all day long. He knew over 250 words. He would tell me when somebody was coming. He would when we went into a hospital frequently, because my daughter has been ill much of her life, and last year she was critically ill and still is. She only had a 3% chance of survival. And so Mr. White and I would go into the hospital regularly, and when we did that, he would stop at certain rooms. And later I would ask the nurse, about this one or about that one. And inevitably, they were very lonely people who were very, very ill. It was always those two things. They didn't have family, they didn't have people, and it was Mr. White who identified it. And so I would go and visit those people with Mr. White. And I mean, it was never that they had family. It was never that anyone visited them. It was only those people who had no one, and they were extremely, extremely ill. And Mr. White would just stop at the door. I would keep walking, and he would just like stop. So I would stop because, I mean, I'm not worried about his training or anything. But these things are more than just picking up on a scent, and the scent is amazing, absolutely amazing. But it takes reading a context and putting a whole bunch of variables together in their minds. That's pretty phenomenal, you know? Um, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I was wondering if you'd be willing to share some of those tests that I saw you had. Like literally like so many people they did like reports. I'm not sure the exact numbers. Do you have those handy?
Sure, sure.
Like on especially on the telepathic and cognitive uh abilities that they have. Those were really interesting. I was just looking at them.
Well,
Yeah.
a fellow by the name of Sheldrake and Smart, right? They were two scientists, and they're the ones that put together the experiment on how do you tell if a dog is telepathic or not? Because so many people were reporting instances of when they were coming home and the dog would already do things like your Whimsy did, break out of the house and be standing there in our path when we drive in. Um, uh, and so they did over 100 videotaped experiments and coded recordings so that nobody could say that it was fake. And dog at the window, 4% during main absent period. Hold on, let me just read it for a second. Um, the dog at the window was 4% during the man's absence, and during the window, and dog at the window 55% of the time during the first 10 minutes of the owner's return journey, right? So before they got there, for 10 minutes ahead of time, the dog went to the window 55% of the time. The statistical significance was huge. I mean, that's over half, okay? But all of them ended up um, having some response. They reported these for the statistical significance, but all of them had responses because their study was set up for the window. Since there was a window in that scene where they were doing the study, some went to a door, some would leave one room and go to another and stand there. There were a lot of different movements the dogs made. And that's just a phenomenal thing. It shows that they have an awareness of our coming, that there are frequencies in our brains that come together. And that's something that's really, really valuable. It's how it is that they're training AI. Dogs' brains actually are being recorded, and it's helping to train AI. Um, Max Planck Institute did a research project and showed the unusual restlessness of dogs up to 20 hours before an earthquake, right? And following the 2011 Tohoku, I have to read this because it's hard to say. It's in Japan, earthquake and tsunami in Japan. Studies revealed that over 60% of dog people observed unusual behavior in their pets, including restlessness, excessive barking. Escape attempts went way up minutes to days before the disaster happened. It's just awful. And of course, it was terrible for them because so many dogs were lost during that. Science believes that dogs can detect subtle seismic activity, imperceptible to humans, okay? Changes in atmospheric pressure preceding events, electromagnetic field fluctuations before earthquakes, release of gases from the earth, like I was mentioning earlier. All these things happen before an earthquake, and they're nowhere near the earthquake often, like wherever the gases are released or this, that, or the other. They're picking up on this information through, you know, God knows how, right? I'm sure some telepathy is involved. And so also, does it happen with humans when they've studied the brain of a human being and the dog, and they've determined that when the dog and the person are talking and visiting and sharing, that their brains actually, what do you call it when they are the same? I've lost my language for a second. When they synchronize, when they synchronize. And so a dog's brain and a human's brain ends up synchronizing. And we've all had that experience. We've all had that feeling before, but few people understand that it's an actual thing that's occurring in your brain, you know? And that, of course, sends messages and releases chemicals that waterfall through your system. And those chemicals are typically chemicals that have to do with the hormone of love and mood and sweetness, oxytocin, serotonin for rest and relaxation. I mean, these different things are occurring all the time with our dogs. It's phenomenal.
Anahata or rare, it makes me think of I know that some of the work you've done is helping humans learn to be intuitive, right? And I know you've shared with me that that children come into the world open uh with that wiring ready, and that the world mutes, basically the conditioned realities of society mutes their ability if they let it, right? So that implies that humans are naturally
Yeah.
intuitive, and then dogs are naturally telepathic and intuitive. And and it's and it's the dogs are assisting us in developing that intuition and that ability, restoring it in a certain way, if we
They make
exercise
a
it.
space for
And
it. They make a
yeah.
space for it. And you can't get away from that space. I mean, that's really the truth.
Hmm.
Um, you can not think about it all you want, but the truth is that in some activity with your dog, during some part of the day with your dog, during some snuggle moment with your dog, your brains are going to synchronize, and you
Hmm.
are going to end up having a sensibility about you. Whoops, hold on just a second. Have a sensibility about you. Well, dear God, I don't know how to deal with that, Arturo. I have a big thing turning on and I don't know how to turn it off.
Well, we don't see anything, so you're good if you just keep. We're all good on the
Okay, good.
stream. Yeah, unless you need to see
Okay, good.
something. Yeah.
All right, good. No, you're fine. If that happens again, I will simply get it and turn it down. I did find the location, so, but I didn't find how to turn it off. So forgive me, folks. I'm in my 70s. I think these shows are so important to share, and I'm not fancy, and I don't have some big setup. But by the way, next week we're going to have a wonderful setup. Arturo is
That's
working
right.
on a space in our room. We're going to have a small studio, which will be a lot easier, a whole
Yeah.
lot easier. But for you, I mean, it'll
Let
make it easier for you for sure. I don't know how much easier it'll be for me, to be honest with you.
me.
But I can tell you
You
this:
mind?
I'll have my dogs there to keep me company and make me feel better. Okay.
Rare. So I just wanted to get, because I have a question that I was leading up to, and I want to make sure I get it, because I believe that our viewers would enjoy something, almost like a snippet from your book, because your book has to do with helping people develop their intuitive connection with their dog, which naturally helps them develop their intuitive abilities. So, and all of our examples that we're sharing and that you're sharing is all of this like experience with dogs, um being able to know when you're coming home, to be able to detect larger events. And I just wondered if you could give a suggestion of exercise, of one exercise, maybe, fun games. I mean, I know you've done stuff, you do that stuff with us and your staff here, that maybe they can benefit from one to help them get started.
I would say the biggest tool in the world that you will see a great change in your relationship with your dog if you simply, when you speak to your dog, show pictures. I've done it for so long. When I speak to any animal, but especially my dogs, I show pictures. We have a courier, Lisa Gersten. Lisa's been our courier for 16 years. And when she started, she had tremendous difficulty. Um, uh, the dogs would get nervous, scared, irritable. They didn't want to go in the little thing under the seat. She just really struggled. And so she came to me and said, "Is there anything you can do to help me?" I said, "Sure. It won't take long at all. I'll show you exactly how to do it. But the key is you're going to have to practice it. And before you take one of the dogs, come in the day before or even earlier and tell the dog where you're going, what his new family members' names are. If you can get pictures of them from me, get pictures. If I have them, I'd gladly give them. And if there's any scene from their home part of the Zoom call that I did with them or whatever, where you can see their house, get some snippets in your own mind. And then when you tell the dog that you're going to be going on a long trip, that you're going to be in a very unfamiliar surrounding, and you show pictures of the airport, the car ride, things like that. Well, long story short, Lisa did all of this. And I'm telling you, I should have her on the show because she, hands down, just raves about this. Because now, before she takes any dog, she does the same process. She tells them all about where they're going and what their trip is going to be like and what treats she has for them along the way, and shows them pictures the whole time she's talking. She's gotten good at it. And the dogs just settle right down. She hasn't had one problem since. Now, I don't care if you believe that they understand or not, but I can tell you this, whether you believe it or not, the results are clear. They work every time. I have never seen it not work, ever. In all my years. I've been with dogs over 50 years. You probably can tell by the way this show went at the beginning. My God, it was hard to get started for me today. I hope it wasn't hard on you. But it's a phenomenal tool to do and a practice. Now, the second thing is, look at these activities that I share like that. They help you expand your own brain. So doing them is not just about getting the dog to do something right. It's about you also becoming more present, more fluid and capable with your own thinking, with your own sharing. So, combining word and image for you actually uses another part of your brain, and parts of your brain are actually talking together. Those neurons are flying to new centers in your brain, and those little explosions of electrical energy are are happening in there, forming new pathways. And those new pathways will give you the grace of greater intuition. They naturally do. Every time you develop yourself in such a way, you end up with a little greater intuition. And intuition is very valuable. People think that intuition is, all about a show, or it's magical, or there are some people that have it and everybody else doesn't. Not true. Everybody has it. Everybody has had the experience of when a phone rings or when a dog shows up suddenly, comes over and licks your arm when your arm was aching, things like that. Um, uh, these things are experiences that show us that this is happening. And the more we exercise certain ways of being, ways of thinking, ways of acting, and we synchronize those together so that we're actually, forming a context and a way of life together, I mean, it's really fun. Then intuition is not just a show thing. It's not just, when am I going to meet my soulmate? Instead, it's going to be about, missing that car that was about to hit you, or getting to the doctor on time when you're led to, or making sure your dog actually goes to the vet because you sense that it's time and it isn't an appointment time. Things like that that help guide you and prevent issues from happening in your life, and also can put you in celebrated moments, moments that are fun. You know, um, I'll never forget years and years ago, I was in Gloucester, Massachusetts, right, where I was raised. And I was playing and having a good time, but I was alone, and it was a bummer because I was alone, and I was a young person, and I really was, disappointed because this young gal, Carolee, couldn't meet and play with me on that day, couldn't go to the store with me that day and things like that. Well, my dog took off, Pamper. She was a boxer, and she took off, and I couldn't figure out where the heck she was. So I started following her path. I could see her footmarks in the sand because it's a coastal town. And so I followed the footmarks, and then they ended where rocks were. But I knew that beyond the rocks was the road into town. Anyway, long story short, I ended up following it. And where did she end up? She ended up at the local hamburger place. And there just happened to be a whole bunch of people in there all celebrating this big catch that this wonderful fisherman had gotten, who was a really good friend of our family. And so uh, I went in, and, that doesn't sound like something fun, but it was so fun. I had a ball, and Pamper relaxed the moment we got in there. And of course, people gave her some hamburgers, but she had never, ever done that before. She had never like run to the hamburger place before. Um, she just hadn't done it. She'd never done anything like that. And I'm sure she was reading me. And all my years, I always tell that story because, it's a great story of how she took care of me that day. She was an amazing dog, really amazing dog.
Well, that's awesome.
All right.
Well, I just wanted to add one more comment because I had with Whimsy, I can feel her in like, but it's not like in my mind, like it's not my picture, but in my heart. Like I have a sensation of of her when I'm away. And I put my mind on her, right? And then it's like the love I have for her, the feeling I get in my heart, I can feel her. And I was able to, like, when I was away, like I felt like I was communicating with her, and I was giving her love. I was like, "Hey, sweetheart, I'll be back soon, I
Oh,
love
you
you."
definitely
And
are.
yeah, and I just and then when I see her and hug her, I can, her heart is racing, and we like connect in the heart, and it's precious. And I just thought, I don't use as much as the pictures, and I'm going to start doing that and exercising that, but I definitely can feel her when I'm away, and I bet you many people probably have that experience also.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah,
really, really
yeah,
valuable. And you can do it, you're doing it with your dog, but you can do this with people too. You
right,
know, when you do the
right.
exercise you shared with
Hmm.
people or a dog,
Hmm.
whether they are aware that it's happening or not, they will notice a mood change. They'll notice feeling loved or feeling warm or feeling good. And, you can check in later. This is what, really a lot of remote psychic work is based on.
Right.
And listen, the military wouldn't use it if it wasn't a real thing. Okay, folks? I mean, it's a real thing. And dogs who do, the military work that they do, often they prevent terrible things from happening. My uncle was in the military, and he went to Vietnam many, many times. That shows how old I am, right? And he was a pilot, and one time his plane went down, and he was in a place, and he was with a fellow who had a dog, and he ended up meeting a guy who in the military who had one of the military dogs, and they were headed to this like a warehouse building, and they wanted to go in, and the dog shot out in front of them and would not let them in, just refused. And it saved their lives. They ended up, you know, trying to figure out why the dog wasn't letting them in when there was an explosion inside. And so, these things happen all the time to people, and they look at them as though they're extraordinary, they're so rare. No, they are not rare at all.
Yeah.
All day long with
Yeah.
your dog is thinking of you. Remember that their environment is simply limited. They're not stimulated that much. I mean, they live in homes, they go to their yard, everything's the same. That's why it's really fun. Why I rave about Tesla, because I have a dog mode in Tesla. And I take 8 to 10 dogs with me everywhere now, all the time, because I have a Tesla. But what's really fun about it is that in the middle of my errands or whatever, number one, I'll get some special treats while I'm out. And I always take one or two with me when I get the treat out of the car. And then when I come back, we go to dog parks. Remember, not long ago, Arturo Lolly took off in one direction. I have a dog that's blind, and she sort of took off in one direction, and we had to chase her down, or Arturo did. But those dogs that I take regularly, eight in specifically, they are so markedly showing smarter behavior around the house. They're showing more communication. They check in with me more. Of course, they ask to go to the car frequently, but I mean, just in terms of what's happening, they anticipate. If they hear me telling Arturo that I'm going in to have lunch, they get up and go to the door. They have no idea. Maybe I'm doing something. I don't know. I'm not aware if I'm doing anything. I'm just telling Arturo, I'm going to go have lunch. And before you know it, you have a lineup at the door, and I haven't moved. These are telepathic movements that dogs are displaying in front of us in these simple ways all day long. And what's so fun about it is that we can do it. Now, I want to
Yeah.
talk about this other aspect of dogs that's so valuable. You know, dogs understand perspective. They get a perspective in a situation. Um, they they also understand fakeness. And Arturo, everybody around here laughs at me, because if my dog doesn't like someone, which is very, very rare, but if they really won't go to someone, if they even make a peep in terms of sound that doesn't sound so hot, and they're not going to a person and they don't want to greet them, and all of these things, boy, am I mindful. I have to tell you, immediately I'm mindful, because a dog can tell a fraud 1,000%. They have a false belief understanding, they call it in science, where dogs respond differently to misleading suggestions from humans, with true versus false beliefs about food location, comprehension, reality, incongruent mental things. So if a person comes in and they're being fake with you, and we had someone a couple of years ago that is a story here in our kennel. It was a woman who came, and she had every designer thing you could possibly think of on her body, and she wanted the biggest deal in the world, and really didn't have respect for what it takes to grow the dogs that I grow, and to care for them, and to have them be so amazing like they are, because my dogs truly are known for the manners they have, for their ability in the ways that we're talking about. They're quite we have something called manners matter most, that Royal Frenchels are born with. And then I really help it blossom. But anyway, this gal was there, and I finally said to her, my dogs did not respond to her. Even the puppies, didn't respond well to her. And I finally asked her to leave. And no, I don't do that all the time. And don't feel uncomfortable if you ever come or visit with me with my dogs. But that was a situation that was very, very real, in terms of, you know, a person that wasn't really being honest, being sincere, really after the purpose of why I do my work and what I could offer in services, etc. And the dogs just went, oh no, oh no, this is not happening. And that is such a rare thing for my dogs, super, super rare. And I followed it.
Anahata, or I had the thought also because I used to teach chemistry, and I used to share with my students, like perspective, because the innovations of the time, there was a time where we didn't have cell phones, right? And I mean, those of us who are old enough can remember the fantastic thinking, like, wow, that would be so amazing if you can talk and there was no wire connecting you, right? I mean, like that, like because the technology was all analog, then it was
Right,
copper
right.
and vibrations, right? And it's like now it's like, well, I'm here, you're there, video is streaming all over. It's magically, you'd think from that time, magically showing up on someone else's computer on the other side of the world, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's like that was the edge back then of understanding. And now here we are talking about telepathy, right? And like what it's not really that far out there is the truth, I mean, we have
Not
experiences
far
of it.
out there at all. Not in the
Right. Yeah,
slightest.
not at all. At all. But it's like it's just not demonstrated in matter, as far as observing the actual conduit that the information is going in. And I think that, and I've always said, like one of these days, I even tell my
I
kids,
mean,
I'm
you
like,
can't see how
one
the
of these days,
telepathy, you mean you can't see how the
right, you can't.
telepathy is happening, but look at it. The results are clear.
Exactly, exactly.
And they never had done the
Right, right,
research before, the studies before, and now they've done them. And the things they're showing up, I mean, 91.1% overall sensitivity to cancer detection. That's incredible.
right,
Including detection of cancer types dogs were not even specifically trained to do, like no training at all.
right,
And they were identifying different types of cancer. So, because dogs have a
right,
higher percentage lung cancer versus, a bone cancer versus a different, pancreatic cancer, all the different cancers have different, uh, the dogs have different capacities to identify each cancer. And I mean, it's amazing. The University of Bristol's research, you know, um, it's incredible. And they're identifying also that dogs that are optimistic have better detection than other dogs. And so they're now identifying dogs that are more optimistic are the ones that do that. And they have different ways. And I won't go into all the science, I mean, all their, how they do their plans, but for the research. But, this stuff is worthwhile. And anyone who wants to see any of the research that I've noted today, well, haven't noted the research as much as talked about the different abilities dogs have intuitively. Anyone who would like that, I'm happy to send you a PowerPoint that has those on it, because it's something I use just to remind myself, for the Noble Guardian program, for because we have a program for dogs that go into hospitals and recovery centers and businesses. A lot of businesses have learned that having a dog in the business makes a big difference. Absenteeism goes down, turnover almost stops. Team, the whole idea of team becomes far more present throughout all the staff. And basically, the dogs pay for themselves within 1 year just from the savings of people showing up for work and not wanting to leave. So they don't because there's a dog on site. And then also higher productivity. They actually produce more revenue. So, this is the ability, and it's really fun. I would love to do a study because of dogs in the workplace, where the boss or the owner walks through and observe the signs of the dog, because dogs are very aware of hierarchy and they're very aware of the context of situations, right? And it would be so fun to see how they actually work diligently to be received well and to do their job well. They love that atmosphere. Dogs love to work, you know. They're not hung up on things like we are. They're happy to work for a day. And when they need a rest, they just take it. They just lay down. It's over. Yeah.
Well, this is awesome, Rare. I'm aware we have about 10 minutes left, and I know you wanted to show some puppies, so I think it'd be a good time to bring out some pups.
Yeah. First, I want to just show you my thermos because I know I show you every single show, and I show it to you because I absolutely love it. It's one of the best products I've ever had. It's the only product in our store on Amazon. It has two, oh good, there's no food in this one. Once I opened it and the food all fell out. Anyway, so it has two bowls, one for water, one for snacks, and you can drink out of it too. So we have a fun ritual in my car. I can drink out of it while they're drinking, and I always bring snacks that we both enjoy. So the dogs and I do that together, and it comes in black too, and it comes in a really cool green that you can get as well. So uh yeah, I wanted to share that. And then I'm going to let Gigi share about these pups. These are Royal Frenchel puppies. Okay. Oh my gosh, she just came here. They're so cute. Let me see if you can see them well.
Hiding.
Can you see them well?
Yes, let me just get that center.
Okay.
That should be good. Okay, this is Cricket Pink. She's on the website. She's available, but she's
And she's a super mite. I'm going to do it this way so it stays. There we
okay.
go. I'm going to
She's
go off screen.
okay. She is the funnest little thing you'll ever meet. She has a really big personality and loves her toys, loves to play, but
Very affectionate.
very, very affectionate. So she'll go and have her
Get the
outside
bell.
time with her friends and all her siblings. And then she will come right back to you. It's a very big lover. She has a really big heart and she loves and she snuggles. And yeah, she's very, very tiny as well. I'm gonna put you down,
And she's a super micro, folks. She's a super micro. She's one of the rarest sized bulldogs in the world. Royal Frenchel here we have the smallest bulldogs in the world here.
This is Angel. Oh, our screen looks like it's freezing a little bit. Sorry if it is, but this is Angel. Her name fits her very, very well. She's wanting to play right now. She's in her playful, fun mood. She just had her snack and she's like, it's playtime now. But
And also, I have to tell you about Angel. Angel loves adventure. I tell you, she goes out with the big dog. She loves it. She plays in the yard. She's so much fun.
yeah,
She's an angel that definitely will end up taking trips to Earth and having a fun time with people because she is one of those.
she
She's
would be
smart as heck.
yeah, she would be an awesome service dog. She loves exploring and she's curious and she's very, very smart. Okay, let's see who else we gonna get.
I don't know, but in the meantime, I'll just sit here for a second and show you my Paddington. This is the boy who was laying on my leg earlier. Let me show you. Isn't he beautiful? He's a wonderful boy. Yeah. He would stay here as long as I would hold him and just snuggle him like this, I tell you. You got your pups?
Oh my God, I have to add that
Alrighty.
I
Now
have to
this
share that that's the dog that came to me last week when I was having a high blood pressure moment, and he came and totally helped me. Oh, looks like we're frozen.
Okay.
All right, this is Basil. Oh, yeah, our internet looks like it's not doing very good right now. But if you can still see me, this is Basil. He is a big love and he's very smart. He's got a very active like smart mind. Not that he's active and hyper, but he's just always thinking about something, trying to figure out the room, figuring out people. And then once he sees someone that he knows and loves, he will go straight to them and be like, "Oh, yay, I recognize you." He's very soft inside. He's a little puppy inside, even if he acts like a big man on the outside. He's not right, my Mr. Basil. He's a good boy.
Oh.
Fanny Bell. This is his sister. She is one of my favorites, like all-time favorite pups. She is extremely smart as well. She observes the room. She figures out how things work. She'll figure out how to get a ball if it rolls under the couch. But she is the biggest snuggle bun that you'll ever meet. Like, I swear she'll snuggle on my lap for 2 hours straight if she could. Yeah, big snuggle girl. Let me put these guys outside.
Honey. Okay. And she's coming with a couple more pups. It'll be Charlie Ray. Oh, Bucky. Okay, we can show you Bucky.
Say hi, Bucky. This is Bucky. Used to be Ernest. Changed his name to Bucky. It fits him a lot better. But he's got a beautiful eyeliner and a beautiful soft coat. All of the guys that I just showed have a really,
Settle.
really settle. Good boy. But yeah, he's a ton of fun as well. He is an adventure boy. He loves going with you anywhere. He'll love to just be by your side, and he wants to do right by you. He wants to do the best job that he absolutely can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He would be a great service dog,
He
actually.
would too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's got that beautiful eyeliner. I don't know if you can see it, but
And the eyeliner actually goes, it's the top and the bottom of the skin around the eye is black. And in Royal Frenchels, we call that eyeliner, and it's preferred by many people. And sometimes they like it with none. So it's kind of fun that his brother doesn't have it, he does. Give us just a second. She's getting a couple more pups. And these are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Bunny. Oh yeah, I'll let
this
her
is
tell you.
Bunny. So Bunny's mom is named Sweet Pea, and she is like the sweetest dog. She wouldn't hurt a fly. Like, she's the sweetest, kindest soul that you will ever meet in a dog. And so she had a daughter just like that. She's super, super soft and sweet and loving. And she, like, you throw a toy down and her whole group rushes to the toy. She'll like look at the toy, but then probably go to you because she sees you. So she's very, very human, like, oriented and connected, and she just wants to be by her human. But she's super snuggly and soft and sweet. Yes, you are. Her coat is really, really soft too. And this is Charlie Ray. He is, oh, what you doing, buddy? He's a micro. He's got a really, really beautiful coat. He's got some little bit of blonde in there, but it's mostly that like deep dark caramel color.
And a black tail.
Yes, and a black little tail. And hi, buddy. Yes, are you a good boy? He is
Oops.
a little happy. He's a happy boy. He is down for any adventure. He's just happy if he's included and happy to be with you. Yes, a good boy. I know what she said. What are you doing out here? Say, what are we doing out here? But yeah, he is a darling boy. He will kiss you up, snuggle you, love you up. But he is down for any adventure. And that's my turn.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, you've seen some puppies. We've talked about the the reality of dogs and all the different special abilities they have intuitively, some connected to some of the physiological and anatomical differences that they have, and some not at all, just purely telepathic. So listen, we send you our love. We send you our invitation to join us every week, Wednesdays at 12. I promise you, I will get better and better. I promise you that. Next week, we have a wonderful woman who was a colonel in the military. She also is a veterinarian, She is a phenomenal person with nutrition. She handled really the United States food, something about that. We'll find out more next week. But so anyway, we hope you join us. We hope that we can all have a good time together while we learn more about dogs. Excuse me, I'm trying to turn that thing off. I so apologize. Oh, dear God. Anyway, all right, folks. I wish you the very, very best. Much love from Royal Frenchel, the Talking Dog Show, and we'll see you soon. And would you like and subscribe? That would be so helpful to us. And remember, next week we're going to have a studio. So it'll be a little different, and we'll be having fun with a little more professional appearance, which I know and you know we could use. All righty. Best to you all.